All right, here we are at Purple Cave Studio. Say hi to Cole and the skeleton. So here's what we're going to be using to record the new Imbroglio single. First off, we got the kit, Mapex Mars in Bloodwood. It's a birch kit, all Evans heads. We got the Evans G2s on top, Genera Rezos on the bottom on the toms. Put some cotton balls in there, shorten the sustain, but we really want a lot of attack out of these. A lot of sustain as well. They sound better when Kevin hits them. For snare, we got a Mapex Black Panther Persuader brass snare. I believe it's a 6.5 by 14 Genera HD on the top. Got the Pure Sound Blaster wires. Snare side 300 down there. On the kick, we got an Evans EMAD, just a standard one with an EMAD Rezo. DW 3000 pedals. Kevin used the felt beater to track the new single. These are my cymbals. Kevin uses Meinl, Classic Customs Hybrid and Dark with the Pure Alloy 15-inch hats. Back here is a new bass amp. It's an Ampeg BA 210 combo amp. We got, if we take this off, you can see the two 10-inch speakers in here. Those are gonna add a lot of punch and high end compared to a 15-inch, which is what we want in our sound. And then Michael uses a Headrush MX5 for his distortion. He uses a dark glass amp with a model of an OCD pedal for his distortion tone. Over here is my board. So this is what I'm tracking with. We got just a boost, the tuner going into the boost, and then the Vox wah, and then here's where all the tones come from, the Blue Guitar Amp 1 Iridium Edition. I use the vintage setting. It sounds like an orange amp. Wyatt is probably going to end up tracking through the classic for like a Marshall kind of tone, a little bit drier. My tone is going to be a little bit juicier. My guitars are going to be left, his are going to be right. Here's my settings. So we got channel switch, boost, which is like a tube screamer built in, that's always on for me. And some reverb just for leads. Like I said, we got the boost pedal and the effects loop just for volume. And then out of there, I'm doing some recording out of my custom cabinet. I call this one the BBC, Big Black Cab. It's got an open back. It's a 2x12, but a square. So inside here we got an Eminence Swamp Thing, an Eminence Man-O-War. The Swamp Thing has a ton of low end for those low genty sounds, and a little scooped. And then the Man-O-War has that real mid-range grind that might actually sound really awesome for bass. We'll probably experiment with that a little bit. But I'll probably end up combining those for my rhythm tones. And I'm actually just about to pick up an orange 112 with a V30. So we're going to use some kind of combination of all of those speakers. On this single, we're using my number one, my PRS SE Standard 24. I believe it's the cheapest PRS there is, but plays like a dream. Just solid maple body, no special top or anything. Or sorry, mahogany body. I think it's a mahogany neck. Threw some locking tuners on there. We got a Seymour Duncan Custom 5 in the bridge. So that's the Alnico 5 in the custom. As always, String Joy strings. This is the 9.5 to 48 set for drop D. So that's going right into the board. We might end up using my ESP LTD EC1000 with a set of Duncan distortion pickups. Besides that, all stock. Again, String Joy. For mics, we got Audix D6, Audix i5, some Lewitt tom mics, and the small Lewitt match overheads. Over here, the room mic and the vocal mic are the same, just a Audio-Technica AT2020. Moved it back a bit for the drum rooms, squashed the crap out of them. And for vocals, we're just gonna put it right here in the middle of the room, track into that. All right, let's move over to the computer. All right, here we are at the desk. I track everything in Studio One through my Studio Live AR16 board and interface combined into one. We got, I think 7 channels on the drums, and then 1 or 2 mics on each guitar cab. Here we are in Studio One. Let's start with the drums. Here's what I got. Here's the finished drum sound. So for Kevin, I went with a quite roomy, airy sound, especially to emphasize his cool cymbals. So here's the overheads. I really wanted that dry airiness to show through. Here's the room mics. Those are pretty high in the mix. With the kick drum, we used a felt beater for a little bit more punch than click. Another trick that I use is I boost around 2K instead of much higher to get a little bit more bite out of the kick rather than high-end click. That's what I think I'm hearing in a lot of periphery stuff and Matt Halpern drum sounds. So on all the drums, they're boosted around that 2K and cut around 300 and a little bit of 500, just to make all the toms real consistent. So here's the kick. So some toms in there. With Kevin's playing, I don't cut out all of the bleed completely. I like to keep a bit of that natural sound in there. So here's the drums without any extra stuff. So this is compression, EQ, and some leveling going on, and expander gates. So I like a real punchy sound, so I took that and then I just added a little bit more airiness with the rooms and overheads to get his cymbals to shine through. So the whole mix is basically centered around this cool drum sound. So we take this and then let's add the parallel compression. Here's what it sounds like by itself. So we wanted to slam all the drums, no cymbals. So blend that in, is out and in. By itself, it's not that big of a difference, but in the mix, it really helps the drums to punch through. And then we added a whole bunch of reverb on here. This is the Studio One mix verb. It sounds really weird by itself. But with the drums, once again, it adds to the airy sound of the cymbals, which I really like. In the beginning here, we have some clean guitars. This is through the Swamp Thing speaker, so it's kind of a Fender-y sound. Once again, the Blue Guitar Amp 1 for clean stuff too. Over here I got a little bit of saturation, a little bit of EQ, a lot of compression, some plate reverb, and then just pan that a little bit, make that a lot wider. And that's gonna sit back in the mix a little bit. We'll have Wyatt's guitar, do the intro to the song. And then here is my guitar part so far. I might end up changing this using the orange cab to record, but currently we got the Man O' War speaker here. Like I said, especially on that low string, it's got that grunt to it, that gravelly kind of thing going on. We ended up changing this song, tuning it to drop D, doing that little flare at the end on the low D string. It makes it sound a lot heavier. And then my other speaker Same exact settings on the amp, just a different speaker. Oh, and I use an SM57 on all the guitar tracks so far. Here's the Swamp Thing. A lot darker, more scooped, different mid-range, more low end, but both together. So what I did was I played one performance through the Man of War all the way through. A second performance was the double on the riffs and the choruses to add a little more beef to the mix using the different speaker. And then I think we're gonna have Wyatt do something similar. So his 2 takes will be the same amp, but different speakers for tones. We might end up changing this, but it's gonna be that same philosophy through, so doubles with different speakers. Here's what it sounds like if I pan my guitars opposite directions, so you guys can hear what it will kind of sound like at the end. All right, that's all we got for now. Stay tuned for another update when we get Wyatt's guitars and the bass track, and then vocals.